Have you ever wondered how a single life can tell the story of an entire nation? Well, today we're going to explore exactly that. We're looking at one woman's incredible 83-year journey through 19th century America, a life so full of change, it actually took 4 different last names to tell it all.
So how does that work? How can one person's story, all their joys, their struggles, their incredible resilience, act like a living, breathing historical document? We're about to find out through the eyes of a woman named Sophia. These aren't just names on a family tree. You should think of them as the titles of 4 completely distinct, really dramatic chapters in her life. Each one marks a brand new phase, a time of stability, a devastating crisis, a period of total reinvention, and then finally a time of reflection.
So let's meet the woman herself. The only reason we know her story is because when she was 83 years old, way back in 1880, she sat down with her grandchildren and told them everything. She dictated her whole life story, and in a way, she invited us to listen in too. You know, this is so much more than just a sweet invitation from a grandmother. It's really the opening line to a first-hand account of what it took to survive in a country that was constantly changing, just like she was constantly forced to. All right, so her story starts with her very first name, Buck. This chapter really sets the stage. It shows us the world she was born into, a hardworking, stable family in an America that was still pretty new. Right from the get-go, Sophia's life was tied to the story of America. I mean, her dad was a soldier in the Revolutionary War. She grew up on a farm, one of 9 kids, a pretty typical, busy New England childhood. Then, at 19, she marries Lambert Brigham, and it really seemed like her future was set, full of promise. And for a while, as Sophia Brigham, she had exactly the life she'd hoped for. She and Lambert settled down in Westborough, Massachusetts, and they had 2 sons, Augustus and Aurelius. By all accounts, it was a really happy time. She expected to grow old with him, watching their family tree just get bigger and bigger. But that life, that dream, it just wasn't meant to be. This next chapter is about a massive crisis that completely shattered her world and sent her down a totally new, really scary path. With this one simple, powerful sentence, Sophia basically signals the end of her life as Mrs. Brigham. It's the beginning of a period of just immense hardship. I mean, just try to imagine the scale of this crisis in 1834. Her husband Lambert dies, just suddenly. So at 37, Sophia is a widow. She has 2 little boys to raise, she is pregnant with a 3rd child, and she has absolutely no way to support them. For a woman in the 1830s, this was a complete catastrophe. It really shows you just how vulnerable women were back then. So, out of this desperation, her life takes another sharp turn. She described this whole next phase of her life with one word: complicated. And yeah, that's probably an understatement. This complicated time led her to a man named Thomas J. Newton, a move to Vermont, and 2 more children. So her family now has these 2 different parts. You've got her older sons, Augustus and Aurelius, who have the Brigham name from that first happy marriage. Then her younger kids, a daughter also named Sophia, and a son, Thomas Jefferson, they have the Newton surname. It really marks this period of chaos, especially since Thomas Newton himself eventually leaves the picture. Okay, but this next chapter, this is where Sophia's story becomes truly incredible. It's all about her resilience. After all that instability, she comes back to Massachusetts and builds a brand new life for herself, not through a man, but with her own 2 hands. To really get what she accomplished, you have to understand what it meant to be a seamstress back then. This wasn't just some hobby, it was a skilled trade. In a time when there were practically 0 professional options for women, her skill with a needle and thread became her ticket to freedom, to economic independence. Her determination was just remarkable. She took a skill she learned as a kid on the farm and literally turned it into a business. By mending clothes and sewing dresses, she supported herself and her 2 younger children. She found stability not through a husband, but through her own hard work. And that brings us to her final chapter. In her later years, Sophia marries one last time and takes on the name Stone. This is the part of her life where she really looks back on the incredible amount of history that she has personally lived through. At 65 years old, an age when most people were considered very elderly, she got married again. This marriage to Jonathan Stone wasn't about starting a new family.
She said it was for companionship in our twilight years. After he passed away, she lived out her final years with her daughter, becoming the keeper of the family's story.
Just to put her life into perspective, look at this number. 17. She lived through 17 U.S. presidents. 17, from John Adams all the way to the Gilded Age. She literally watched the United States transform from a brand new, fragile country into an industrial powerhouse.
So after everything she'd been through, what did she consider her greatest achievement? It was her family. She became the matriarch of this huge, sprawling clan. I mean, look at these numbers. 10 grandchildren from her son Augustus alone. Her legacy wasn't money or fame, it was the family she built.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? After a life filled with so much turmoil, losing husbands, starting over from scratch, working her fingers to the bone, her greatest joy, her ultimate purpose, came from watching the success of the family she fought so hard to keep together.
So, what wisdom did she want to pass on? Well, her life lessons can be boiled down to these 4 simple but really powerful ideas. Be proud of your roots, work hard, be kind, and face whatever life throws at you with courage. That is advice that comes straight from a life that demanded every single one of those things from her.
For me, this is the most powerful line in her entire story. She ends with this really humble but profound summary of her life. She knew she wasn't going to be in the history books, not in the traditional sense. But the honesty of her story, its raw truth, that's what makes it so important.
And that brings us right back to where we started. How can one life tell the story of a nation? By being an honest one. Sophia Brigham Newton Stone's journey through love, loss, and reinvention, it's like a mirror, reflecting the exact struggles and triumphs of America in the 19th century. Her story is the story.